Right, happy Monday, everyone. So today's topic, discover 11 ways to take the drama out of your thinking, part 1. So you may recall that last week I introduced the concept of cognitive distortions, but by way of recap, it sort of starts with phrases such as everything in my life is a hot mess. And okay, sometimes, sure, it feels that way, but objectively speaking, we know it's just not true, right? And statements like my entire life sucks, or I'm never going to be happy, or I just never have time, have a name, and they're called cognitive distortions. Or thoughts, really, that feel true but aren't, right? And if you've ever had thoughts like this, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. We're all guilty of it, to be honest. And cognitive distortions just reflect how quirky, our human brains really work, right? And, our brains have this tendency to kind of like over focus on perceived threats and negativity, make judgments with only partial information, overgeneralize, taking facts about a single specific situation and applying it to everything, right? Because the brain is lazy. The brain loves to think around things that it can kind of just apply to everything because it loves certainty. And so if there's an opportunity to kind of just go, yep, okay, we've seen this once, let's learn and apply it to everything, and our job here is done. No more calories required, no more thinking, we're good. Unfortunately, not too helpful. But anyway, if you're raising your hand in recognition, I am, it's normal, right? And while it is normal, right, cognitive distortions actually create a ton of unnecessary stress. And so if you find yourself feeling annoyed, anxious, or stubbornly pessimistic most of the time, you're probably deeply entrenched in some of these kind of thoughts, right? And that's actually kind of good news. Why? Well, because it means that your life isn't actually 100% shit, right? Your thoughts just need some adjusting. So go ahead and take a sigh of relief with me now if you need to. And what I'll do is that in this vlog series, I'll describe 11 cognitive distortions that we tend to get stuck in. And this list was developed by David Burns, who's a medical doctor, psychiatrist, and pioneer of the cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. And hang on, apparently he's also a Stanford University professor and author of the best-selling books, Feeling Good and Feeling Great. So there's another tidbit. I haven't read those yet, but I will add them to my audiobook list. Take note. There's my grammatical error there. Anyway, I'm just going to say, so why don't you spend the next couple of days just going through the list and see if you relate to any of these thought types. I will actually put them in the comments, in the blurb as well, so you can actually read if you prefer. But the reason I want to do this is because, the more we become aware of our thought distortions, it helps us to actually get some clarity around what's happening really, and, sort of realistically as well. And so it can help us to reduce stress and feel better. So my challenge to you is to keep an open mind. And let's go, shall we? So number 1, all or nothing thinking. Now this concept, if you've been in this community for a while, won't be anything new. And this is kind of where we see things as all or nothing, either or, it's binary, usually in extremes like perfect or horrible. And there's no kind of go between, right? There's no kind of like okay or reasonably good or somewhere along the gradient. And it could be like if you're a perfectionist, for example, unless you follow a diet or work out perfectly, 100% of the time you've failed. Call it that I ate like 1 spoon of Nutella, and so I might as well just give up on healthy eating effect. Or I drank over the weekend and, my food went, the classic one, right, is like, I overate on Friday, oh well, this weekend's blown, I'm just going to keep eating. Just negate 3 weeks worth of dieting. I missed my deadline on 1 assignment, so I'm going to get fired. Or I skipped a whole workout this week, I'm going to lose all my gains. Heard that one before. I might be guilty of that one occasionally as well. I tripped over my words at one point, so my whole presentation is ruined. So, yeah, the point is that all or nothing is not... It's not usually true, and it can also actually create a hindrance, right? It can actually stop you from just making the necessary statements or getting back on track with what you've done. The reality is that what you do is usually a compounding effect of what you do consistently over time. So if you miss a workout here, it's not going to be the end of the day. The trick is to do more workouts more often than not if you want to see some progress in that area, if that's a goal of yours. Number 2, overgeneralization. This is where we have a single view, such as a negative event, as a continuing and never-ending pattern of defeat by using words like always and never. And you see this a lot with people who adopt a kind of they've had a significant event, they felt powerless, they sort of allowed it to become a victim from it, and then that becomes part of their identity. It becomes part of their story, right? So it's this thing no longer just happened to them, it's now who they are. So you can have things happen to you and it can be a chapter of your life, or you can make it your life story. It's really up to you. But anyway, what happens as well is that when you overgeneralize, you also discount other possibly conflicting pieces of evidence and make sweeping conclusions based on one piece of information. And so examples could be, I sprained my ankle while I was running, so I'll never run properly again. Well, you don't know that, and that's only if you don't do your rehab or if you keep training on without allowing some recovery. I forgot we had a coaching appointment. I'm always letting people down. Or if you've been stood up on a date or a catch up, I'm always getting rejected, I'll never find love, or, no one likes me, that sort of thing. So, look, they're just some examples. I'm sure you'll find some of your own examples. I certainly have been guilty of some of these as well. I'm trying to think of an overgeneralization on top of my head. It's not coming to me right now, but I'll put it in the comments when I do. But the reality is, right, like, now that you've kind of gotten an idea around what these are, just practice becoming aware of any that are coming up for you and noticing them now that you know what they look like. So my challenge is over the week, if anything comes up, put it in the comments or journal it, however you want to do it, because we can all learn from each other on this one as well. And when we think better, we generally feel better. So enjoy and stay tuned for the next 9 that I'll be sharing over the coming vlogs.